A quick pre-video disclaimer before we begin. This was not the video that was gonna come after my commentary on Temporal Times commentaries. I make light of it in the intro skit, but the co-op with Manny is taking quite a bit longer than I thought due to the many edits in the script we made before re-recording our lines, and me just waiting on one person to finish their cameo lines for a segment in that video. If this person is watching this, please take your time. No rush at all, my friend. Aside from that, college is more important. That and family stuff on my end and joining a D&D campaign, but that's not the point. The point is I figured it would be best to have the co-op out whenever necessary instead of rushing it out the door and releasing it on a stupid deadline. I made that mistake with the POG Halloween special from forever ago, and I am not making that mistake again. Either way, thank you so much for your patience, and I hope you all enjoy this video, and look forward to other videos I have in the behind the scenes vault, as I like to call it. And now, our feature presentation. The following video contains content and or language which may be unsuitable for younger viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, play nice.
Raven Sideshow commentaries are filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Well, I guess this is what happens when you take so long on a Christmas special.
At least you're getting it squared away, Master Raven. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, but I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. Though I have no promises on that since there could be a chance of a repeat, but now I know what to do for a future time this happens. Just gotta prioritize my shit better, that's all.
Duly noted. I guess the first order of business would be to get some material for this next show.
Material, you say? Well, color me the happiest person alive then. I've been meaning to find something to get my commentating juices going. Say, what do you have in your database right now?
How does a knockoff Death Battle sound to you?
Knockoff Death Battle? Count me in. Hola amigos, Raven Pines here with a brand new show for you all to enjoy. Friends, this show has been brought to you by Veritas, a commentator who typically goes into political discussions if his channel output is anything to go by. Now this cheat is a little wonky, so I'm going to explain it as best as I can. 3 months before the initial release of Erwig and the Witch, a content creator by the name of Beethoven released a video discussing why he thinks the movie will suck because of Studio Ghibli's decision to make the film with CGI animation. Then an absent commentator who goes by Gumdrop Animator did a one-shot commentary on that, particularly illustrating why judging a movie preemptively just by the animation style alone is a really bad idea. Then I did a commentary on that, coinciding with my ongoing mainline lore while also stating my problems with the one-shot commentary as a whole. Then, out of nowhere, Veritas found me in my video, so he decided to do a commentary on that. How he found me is a big mystery that has yet to be solved, but I am glad to have the extra material. Now, with all that out of the way, it's time for the show.
Hello everyone, it is I, Veritas.
What the hell? Why are we having this guy use Henry Kissinger, a real person, as an avatar? Nope, 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 so much nope.
You made me do this!
Okay, I have a better idea. Let's replace Howard Kisuke with Ruby Trash. Jane, you got any suggestions?
Any thoughts on this fellow?
That's a Keyblade Master avatar.
Okay. Perhaps him then?
Look, I know I said that my friend Kagura 101 potentially using him as an avatar was a joke back then, but looking back on it, yeah, I can see him using that dude in a commentary if he wanted to.
Alrighty. How about this distinguished gentleman? Just look at how he's sitting.
perfect. Just perfect. However, there is one thing I would like to address before we move forward.
Go ahead, Master Raven.
Judging by the timeline from Vegas that I took a screenshot of, there are a lot of parts where the background music he uses bleeds into the video Veritas is commentating on when the clips shown would already have background music in them, those being from my end, thus making it auditorily distracting. Now Veritas, I'm not certain on what editing software you're using, but this can be easily fixed by going to the end of your interjection where the background music is laid down, using the splitting tool from your software, and moving what remains of the timeline of the music to your next interjection so that the music doesn't drown out the clips you are responding to. It can also help with understanding what context is sped up if it is the case. Just leaving it in said sped up clips will not help your audience understand what the other person is saying. Want a good example of this? Well, let me show you.
This is the least worst video that I've ever seen regarding that topic, but that doesn't automatically mean that the video is good. And that's especially saying something considering how the video managed to take off every box of the
To be good, to be bad
mindset in under just 3.5 minutes.
By the way, keep this clip in mind because this will come into play later. For good measure, I also downloaded a copy of my video on Gumdrop so that my audience will see the clips without the background music.
Yeah, use a bitch.
Before we continue, I would like to give a bit of context for this tidbit. So right around when he states that my video on Gumdrop exemplifies my supposed flaws, he states, let's get into it. But here's what comes afterwards.
Oh, but that's the first flaw of this video. We can't get into it as the commentary doesn't even begin until 3 minutes later, so yeah, that's nice.
If you're talking about the first 3 minutes where I put in my old disclaimer, an intro skit that ties into my mainline lore and the intro card, then I'm assuming you're not too familiar with the slideshow commentary community, specifically why intro skits are just mostly there in those kinds of commentaries to begin with. Not that I'd fault you for it or anything. Guess it's time for a history lesson though. Now, according to SCC veteran and devotee Space Guru 5, the history of intro skits and commentaries is very complicated. In fact, one of the earliest examples of what could be considered an intro skit from 2010 was the start of Cyberwolf 087's video on some dude doing an audio commentary on a Phineas and Ferb episode.
Oh, come on, guys. Really? Do I really have to do another commentary? I mean, come on, it's a college weekend. I got homework stuff to do, and I want to go out somewhere.
No!
Come on, guys.
No!
Come on.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
Fine. Fast forward it. Go back. There, right there. Sheesh.
While this next point is up for speculation, intro skits didn't really take the community by storm until the popularity of a group known as Bunch of Pseudo-Intellectuals, or BOP for short, with this skit coming from one of their videos released in 2014.
Hey guys, I found a commentary material. We have it, and sorry for kicking down your door.
NES Mario 123, what are you doing here?
No time, watch this video, it's bad.
What is that?
It's...
What? What is it?
a social justice warrior. Guys, you know what we must do.
Anyone can tell that this is where intro skits being chock full of surreal comedy came from. Since intro skits were popularized back in 2015 and have become a staple since 2016, they evolved and diversified in styles as time went on, with those ranging from silly and wacky like the olden days of the SEC to deep lore-based stuff that we see in the present day coming from folks such as Boonslayer, Aaron Tempest, Enigma Phantom, Doodle Tones, Firebolt PT, and maybe myself since you were the one highlighting my skit as a problem, Veritas. Look, if you don't like intro skits and commentaries, that's fine, but you could just skip them at the end of the day. At most, intro skits are just there to entertain the audience. That's pretty much it.
Now, for the first 3 minutes, there really isn't anything to go over, except for this interesting thing I found in the Loud as Hell intro sequence. what's with the random letters in a completely different font?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, I know! That's Atbash code! It was a teeny little Easter egg for anyone who has seen the ending credits of any Gravity Falls episode with the code in them. A little treat, if you will.
Master Raven, I can't read this code here. Do you know what this translates to, perchance?
Enjoy the sunshine.
Hola amigos, Raven Pines here with a new commentary fresh out of the oven. This is Gumdrop Animator. Some of you watching this may remember her from when she did a video on my god-awful Onision commentary back in 2018. For further context, a user who goes by the name of Beethoven made a video regarding the latest Studio Ghibli movie, Earwig and the Witch.
Why are some of the images of Lewis in low resolution? Like, unless you're using a character from an obscure or forgotten show or movie, there would be no reason to have such bad-looking images, especially from a very popular and documented cartoon like The Owl House.
And you play all that out, just for a production critique with no further elaboration other than because The Owl House is a popular cartoon, there should be no excuse for the low-quality images being used. Great! Now, you're not really wrong here. The low-quality images can sometimes be the only images on Google that I can find, and some of the images can be too small to fit the screen. Luckily for me, there are some future steps at my disposal for higher quality images, like taking screenshots from Hulu or Disney+, going to fan wiki pages of the franchise the characters are from, being very specific with Google Images for PNGs, or, for an easier time making transparent renders, remove.bg and erase.bg. Admittedly, these sites don't get it right every time and you have to use the erase and restore tools to fix the image, but it helps nonetheless. Oh, am I not supposed to be giving myself solutions? Would you give me nothing to work with here? Just leave me in the dark? I'm so sorry.
1 month after the film's official release in the US, Gumdrop released a one-shot commentary on that video, and this is where I come in. I enjoyed her commentary on me, but I really feel that she missed the mark with this one shot in particular.
Why don't you fill your screen with the images you're using? They're the same ratio as the screen, and it looks so off-putting with all this unnecessary space.
Hey, doofenshmirtz! If you're going to make a production critique, at least have one that isn't nonsensical. The only reason why the images are that size is because, well, there's a background there. I was just trying to make my video look a bit more presentable through having these images be smaller while having the background be seen on a more consistent basis. Hell, some of those images could be the same aspect ratio as the video I was rendering, so it would just look really awkward if the images were shown to fit the screen. So in the words of my friend Azelf101, shut your fuck. Also, this clip is a representation of Veritas when he sees anything in production that he can nitpick the shit out of instead of actually arguing someone's points.
This is filth! Filth!
Ah! Just to make things clear, I do not hate her by any means. This is simply to give her some criticism while entertaining and educating my audience. Are we cool with that? Okay.
Try not to use unofficial art next time, it looks very tacky.
You mean uncredited fan art? If that's the case, then no offense, but you could potentially be insulting the artist behind the art piece shown in the video, albeit without any credit whatsoever for it, if they came across your video. They might be heard by you saying that the art was tacky. Unless you are talking about the use of fan art being tacky, then you should have been more explicit on that. Let me make something perfectly clear. No one is necessarily banned from using fan art of the characters they're using as avatars. If anyone does, at the very least, credit the artist behind the piece you are using. If you don't credit the artist, it just makes you look sleazy, since it essentially looks like you are claiming a piece of fan art as your own, so be considerate about that. Oh, I forgot, Veritas! You're the image police here! My bad! I thought you were just flirting with me when you shouldn't be. Besides, you're not Cloud Strife.
But Cloud Strife is a Final Fantasy VII character.
Yeah, what of it?
Master Raven, you do realize that he's not... you know.
I know he's not real, but he's one of my husbandos, goddammit! Why do you think I have a body pillow of him in my dressing room?
You have what in your dressing room?
Oh dear, you're really in for it, Master Raven.
What the fuck,
Raven!
Wait, hold on, I can explain.
Have you learned nothing from your co-op commentary with Kagura 101? Body pillows and commentaries are inherently cursed!
Security!
You'll notice the problem I had with this, especially upon first viewing. It's not so much the fact that it's sped up or because of the chipmunk voice, it's the length of this part. Combine that part with the rest of the sped up clip, and it all comes down to 1 minute and 49 seconds of stuff that could have been easily left on the chopping block, with the rest of the context being explained briefly either with a skip card or just a voice note summarizing that part in particular. Yes, context is important, but leaving stuff like that in makes it feel really bloated.
Like you're in any position to talk about commentaries with too much fluff?
You know, if you just ignore the part of my video where there is some very important context as to why I saw Gumdrop putting too much fluff in her one-shot commentary to be a problem.
You got new information on the new Studio Ghibli film. It's not traditional. Not at all. The movie is completely CGI. Throughout the history of Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli as some call it, I call Studio Ghibli just because. Throughout history, it's always been hand-drawn 2D animation, but they're taking the Disney route.
Let me stop the clip there.
By the way, thanks for cutting that part out. That totally helps your audience understand where you're coming from. Also, there is a major difference between using the whole video as one-shot commentary material and having an intro skit for a full-length commentary. A typical one-shot commentary only has someone covering one specific point in a video the commentator wishes to address. Keyword being typically, since covering the whole video would potentially kill the one-shot's pacing. As stated before, an intro skit is usually done to entertain the audience or continue the story within a user's videos. Notice how these two things are not the same. But I'm not done yet. You seem to be forgetting that I explained why this is an issue and that I had told Gumdrop about some ways to fix the issue for future one-shot commentaries.
You'll notice the problem I had with this, especially upon first viewing. It's not so much the fact that it's sped up or because of the chipmunk voice, it's the length of this part. Combine that part with the rest of the sped up clip, and it all comes down to 1 minute and 49 seconds of stuff that could have been easily left on the chopping block, with the rest of the context being explained briefly either with a skip card or just a voice note summarizing that part in particular. Yes, context is important, but leaving stuff like that in makes it feel really bloated.
Apparently, context is lost on some people.
How long is the video in total? Dios mío! Just so we're clear, long one-shot commentaries are not inherently a bad thing.
How the hell is 6 minutes long?
Once again, this is a one-shot commentary we are talking about. The reason why it was that long was because of how poorly paced that one-shot was.
But Raven, you made a 6-minute long one-shot commentary as well.
See, I acknowledge that, but there is a difference. In my one-shot commentary on Nihilistic Snake, I had a lot to say not just for a particular point I showcased, but the entire video as a whole. Whereas Gumdrop covered the whole video in one go with that playing for the first 2 minutes, which, like I said 2 interjections ago, kills the video's pacing. So my overall point is, having a 6-minute long one-shot commentary that's awfully paced is not a good thing.
This is the least worst video that I've ever seen regarding that topic, but that doesn't automatically mean that the video is good, and that's especially saying something considering how the video managed to take off every box of the 2D good, 3D bad mindset in under just 3.5 minutes.
Raven, what made you think it was a good idea to upload a video where captions are not available? I literally cannot understand what Gumdrop Animator is saying, and the clip being sped up only makes it worse. How am I supposed to criticize what you're saying when I don't even know what you're criticizing?
Firstly, fuck you. Secondly, your video doesn't have closed captions available either. Thirdly, I acknowledge that the way I sped up the clip was not the best, considering Gumdrop's mic quality was pretty bad when we got to her part.
This is the least worst video that I've ever seen regarding that topic, but that doesn't automatically mean that the video is good. And that's especially saying something considering how the video managed to tick off every box of the 2D good, 3D bad mindset in under just 3.5 minutes.
Perhaps for future reference I could potentially not speed it up as fast and maybe raise the volume and, if I really need to, put some subtitles to help my audience understand what the other person is saying. Circling back to the first interjection though, you want to know another thing that makes it harder for your audience to understand what Gumdrop is saying? Well, remember this clip from earlier?
This is the least worst video that I've ever seen regarding that topic, but that doesn't automatically mean that the video is good. And that's especially saying something considering how the video managed to take off every box of the 2D good, 3D bad mindset in under just 3.5 minutes.
I told you this will come into play here. See, this is why we don't usually have background music playing over the previous degrees when doing a multi-degree commentary, because crap like this occurs. Not helping is how loud the music is. Make the music audible, but not to the point where it takes over everything in the video outside of your interjections.
Sure, lots of people don't love the art style, but that doesn't mean that that was the only thing that people did not like. Other reasons, including bad storytelling and unlikable characters, were also at the forefront of the many criticisms with the movie itself, even after the film's release.
Despite the fact that Gumdrop Animator was talking about one single person's opinion and not the general public, I don't know, I can't understand jack shit what she's saying.
You really out here cutting context to argue my point in a vacuum, huh? Play the clip.
First of all, you're saying that the film is going to suck because it's done in CGI. How exactly is it a proper criticism of the film itself?
Oh no, the film is done in art style that I don't like.
So, there are tons of films out there that are art styles that I personally don't like, but that doesn't mean I'm going to say that the film is completely terrible and that no one should watch it.
While I do agree with this point on the surface, there is a problem with it. Since you mentioned it would still be relevant even if the video was made 2 months after the film's release and the disclaimer I skipped over, it would still potentially crash and burn, since 1 month after the commentary was released, he uploaded a review of the movie and said this literally at the start of it.
So, I finally got to see Erwig and the Witch, and it actually met my expectations, plus more. I know that some people don't really like the movie due to the change in art style and direction, you know, the whole CGI instead of actual 2D hand-drawn animation. It might not be the same animation style, but it really has the same heart, the same feel. Everything about it is a Studio Ghibli movie.
Looking back, my point here was not that great, but not for the reason you think. You see, when I was using other people's reviews of the movie in that part in particular, I was more so illustrating how there was more to the criticism of the film than just CGI is evil and the animators who work with the medium are dating the devil. I talked about how people also didn't like the storytelling and characters to demonstrate how Beethoven not liking the movie initially was not a him problem. Here's where the issue lies. Gumdrop's disclaimer was mostly there to clarify that the overall message she was trying to convey can apply not just to this situation, but any future situations involving 2D animation studios branching out to CGI animation. What I'm saying here is you're missing my point completely, and you had so many opportunities to provide an actual counter to my argument.
In short, this is one of Studio Ghibli's films that did not exactly hit the mark compared to their other movies such as My Neighbor Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, and Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah, but GA is still right in the assertion that judging a movie before its release is kinda dumb, regardless of what aspect you're criticizing.
But Gumdrop wasn't giving Beethoven smoke for judging Erwig and the Witch preemptively as a whole. She was criticizing him for only talking negatively about the animation style and not much else, really. That was just part of the whole build-up to that point you mentioned that I didn't think was executed very well on her part. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe if you look at what's right in front of you and focus on the bigger picture, you wouldn't be focusing that much on banal bullshit, Harold Kiss My Ass.
Where do I begin? Well, let's start with the obvious. This one-shot ended up being a huge waste of time.
Again, it was only 6 minutes.
Everyone shut up! Veritas cut more shit up and it's getting worse with my final thoughts on Gumdrop's video!
Where do I begin? Well, let's start with the obvious. This one-shot ended up being a huge waste of time. Like I said before, there were lots of things that could have been left on the chopping block, and the fact that you covered the whole video doesn't really help a whole lot, since the original video was 3 minutes and 52 seconds. That right there speaks volumes.
Speaking of cutting shit up, I have a problem with you skipping parts of the video all willy-nilly. I have an explanation for that in my final thoughts.
Like I said before, there were lots of things that could have been left on the chopping block, and the fact that you covered the whole video doesn't really help a whole lot, since the original video was 3 minutes and 52 seconds. That right there speaks volumes.
Okay, why is covering short videos a bad thing? No, seriously, why is covering short videos bad?
Hey guys, look, I'm repeating myself in the same interjection. Hey guys, I'm repeating myself in the same interjection. What the fuck? Hey guys, repeating myself in the same interjection. How did you get here? Hey guys, repeating myself in the same interjection. Hey guys, Stop! Sorry about that, everybody. On a more serious note, I'm sorry. What? Where did you get that from? Where did you get the notion of me saying that covering short videos is not okay? I never said that. The only reason I mentioned Beethoven's video's length was because Gumdrop's one-shot on that video was longer than it realistically needed to be because of the unnecessary padding. Plus, there is one thing from my video that you seem to be forgetting. Earlier in my video on Gumdrop, I explicitly say that long one-shot commentaries are not inherently bad, and that it's okay if a one-shot commentary was long if it was interesting or entertaining throughout at the very least.
Just so we're clear, long one-shot commentaries are not inherently a bad thing. They can be good as long as you make them interesting and or entertaining.
Please, for the love of all humanity, never strawman what people say again.
Also, doesn't the video being short kind of defeat your earlier point of it being a huge waste of time?
No, it really doesn't. Even with the video being short, it felt like a huge waste of time due to the poor structuring. If what was played during the first 2 minutes of Gumdrop's one-shot was any indicator, that exemplifies me saying that the one-shot had so much time wasted. There's also the fact that around the time Gumdrop's video was released, Beethoven saw the movie and warmed up to the visual style as expressed in a different video. And that, my friends, is why you pay close attention to what someone says in a commentary. You'd get the bigger picture of what the person is arguing and don't ask stupid questions like this.
I hope this helps. If it doesn't, oh well, at least I got through the Wendy's lunch rush unscathed with the journal still intact in my bag. That's all I have for this video. Until next time, this is Raven Pine saying take care and be kind to one another. Adios!
Hey, Veritas, why were you showing the last bit of my video before the outro skit if you had nothing to say about it? There was absolutely nothing of interest about that clip, and this easily could have been left out with you telling your audience that you were going to end the video there before you go into your final thoughts. With this method, it would save your audience's time and sanity. Speaking of final thoughts, if you make me use another Ruby Chibi clip, Veritas, I swear!
So, Raven's kind of a not-so-good commentator. Now, I could talk about the other flaws I've seen in her videos, such as her using fake PNGs, but I think I've done my part well enough.
Cue the clip.
Well, my work here is done.
But you didn't really do anything?
Didn't I, Rabbit Girl? Didn't I?
My name's Velvet.
I don't care.
From this point on, this video finally comes to a close. That was a test of sanity that I wish had self-care options at the end. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This video was a mess, with Veritas' degree getting worse over time. First and foremost, I want to talk about the cuts to parts of my video jumping in the most random of places. Veritas, you just go from one clip to the next without telling your audience where you were skipping to and why. The parts where you cut out context to some of my arguments also didn't help matters. Not only will it have your viewers be confused on where the video is going, but it will also have a chance of your subject being misrepresented. That part is a big no-no when doing commentaries, political or otherwise. I would honestly suggest being more careful with chopping your subject's videos to bits like this from now on, and pay close attention to when context for anyone's arguments is needed. You're not Inosuke Hashibira from Demon Slayer. Come on now. Next, let's talk about the points. With the production critiques added to the equation, some of them range from nothingness to just downright awful. For real. All you do is just point shit out with no elaboration as to why it's bad and expect your audience to look at it and expect me, your subject, to do something about it. At least with Doodle Tones, Gumdrop Animator, and Keyblade Master when they did their commentaries on me, They provided reasons as to why what I did in my videos was wrong and explained how I can fix those issues in the future. But you just throw me into the water and hope I can figure out how to swim. My advice on that would be to elaborate more on your points and not expect your subjects to just figure it out from there, since it's just not a smart move. To wrap my final thoughts up, I am certain you can do better than this. Yes, this video tested my patience and had me say mean things in some areas, but I prefer giving anyone I commentate on the chance to improve if they choose to. Just take what I said in this video into consideration, Veritas. Hopefully this helps. If not, well, at least I hope this entertained you all.
Are you going to be okay, Master Raven?
I hope so. I just need to find something to do to take my mind off this video for a while.
I hear a friend of yours is hosting a Dungeons and Dragons game soon. She was hoping you can join her and some other players you might know.
Ah, of course! I've been meaning to get back into TTRPGs for a while, so this should be fun. Well, that's all, folks. Until next time, this is Raven Pine saying take care and be kind to one another. Adios!
Shut up, go to bed. We've lost vengeance. Shut up!
Wait, Raven has the body pillow across life? Girl! Body pillows are cursed in the SEC! That's why I'm planning on giving away a body pillow Tifa to someone else!